The official story of the LAX shooting has raised more questions than it's answered. Witnesses and law enforcement initially reported the shooter was a heavy man wearing a blue TSA uniform. Witnesses also said the shooter was using a pump shotgun and changed to a pistol. Officials say it was an AR-15. No footage of the ubiquitous closed-circuit television cameras has been released, and most unbelievable, the police said he was shot in the mouth, yet told them that he acted alone and was dropped off by someone, although he can't talk now. Regardless of what happened in the LAX shooting, in the 2 weeks prior, the government was trying to suppress information that had leaked to the public. TSA internal documents reveal that in mid-2011, Homeland Security and TSA acknowledged that there was no threat to either airports or airplanes, but they lied to the public about the threat, and with threats and blackmail, stopped state legislation that would have reined in the police state. In mid-2011, the Texas House approved unanimously an anti-groping bill that would have constrained the TSA's sexual assaults and its violations of the Fourth Amendment. But the Department of Justice, with heavy lobbying by the TSA and Lieutenant Governor Dewhurst, threatened to shut down all flights to and from Texas. We now learn from TSA internal documents written at the same time, the very same time, the TSA itself wrote, as of mid-2011, terrorist threat groups present in the homeland are not known to be actively plotting against civil aviation targets or airports. Instead, their focus is on fundraising, recruiting, and propagandizing. How did INFOWARS get access to TSA documents marked for official use only? From a lawsuit against the TSA. The plaintiff was able to examine TSA documents, which he summarized and quoted as part of his appellate brief. The government heavily redacted the brief, but mistakenly made the unredacted version public on pacer.gov. With both a redacted and an unredacted version of the lawsuit, you can see what the government doesn't want you to see, that there was no threat against either airports or airplanes. It also reveals the TSA was fully aware that since 2007 there had only been 7 hijackings worldwide and none of them involved explosives. Over the past couple of weeks, INFOWARS has interviewed the plaintiff several times and written several articles about it. And in response, the Department of Justice threatened the plaintiff, telling him he couldn't talk about the lawsuit, violating his First Amendment rights. And pacer.gov has now removed both versions of the lawsuit. PACER, an acronym for Public Access to Court Electronic Records, is a service of the U.S. Federal Court Service. It allows the public to see all court cases, and as of 2013 holds more than 500 million documents. In other words, you can see 500 million court cases, all court cases, except this TSA lawsuit. The government is very afraid of the content revealed in this lawsuit. Remember that in mid-2011, a former Miss USA said she was sexually molested by the TSA at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. And in response, the TSA said this: "We wish we lived in a world where security procedures at airports weren't necessary, but that just isn't the case." That was their public lie. Internally, they wrote that they knew the procedures were not necessary. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dewhurst, a man with deep ties to the CIA and Homeland Security, worked with lobbyists from the Department of Justice to threaten a blockade against Texas if the TSA was blocked from sexually assaulting travelers. Through lobbying, lies, and threats, Dewhurst and Homeland Security stopped the anti-groping bill before the Texas Senate in mid-2011. Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, TSA, and their servants like David Dewhurst will do anything. They will lie, threaten, blackmail in order to create a turnkey infrastructure for tyranny. Their documents and their actions from mid-2011 prove it. Just as the TSA said about potential threat groups, Homeland Security itself is focused on fundraising, recruiting, and propagandizing. Do you understand how you're being played? For INFOWARS Nightly News, I'm David Knight.